OpenAI just released a document recently, a study that shows that because they have I think at 74% of usage is personal usage. It's not really professional one. So that leaves basically 25% or so to professional usage. The word change, I think it boils down to change management. They were, which is a statistic which is still valid today, that shows that 80 to 85% of projects fail because change is not being managed correctly.
Yeah.
One of the things to me why AI fails is that we don't listen to people enough. We don't listen to their pain. The fact is that if you don't lose time at the beginning, you will lose people in the end.
Everybody is talking about AI and how it's going to change the way we operate in businesses and just our day-to-day lives. The research, however, has been quite surprising in my view because it shows that a fairly low percentage of the workforce has implemented AI in their day-to-day work activities. Some research go as far as saying that only 20 to 30% of the workforce have implemented AI in their jobs. According to a report by McKinsey, this is not driven by a technological problem. It's not a technological challenge, it's more of a leadership challenge. And if I may say, part of that is a communication strategy and how the implementation of AI is adopted or is driven to be adopted in a workforce. Our guest today is the former CTO of Microsoft, overseeing the Sub-Saharan African region, and he wears several hats today as a mentor, entrepreneur, and AI consultant. Marc Israel, thank you very much for your time and generosity for being on the podcast.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I think it's a great honor as well to be there for discussing with you. I wore many hats, and I'm still wearing many hats. But so I started my career as an entrepreneur in France, then moved to Mauritius and started actually working for Microsoft and spent, which was not really in my career plan, but spent 17 years at Microsoft in Sub-Saharan, in Indian Ocean and Sub-Saharan Africa in various capacities, and one of them was Chief Technology Officer, overlooking really how we deploy technology in the continent. Left Microsoft close to 10 years ago now and went back to entrepreneurship, but I'm doing lots of stuff. So I'm an entrepreneur, so build a couple of companies, build as well the first business angel group in Mauritius, investing into startups. I'm a startup coach as well. I'm lecturing in various universities. I'm sitting on boards as well. So my weeks are very, very busy, but yeah, trying to stay close to technology. I'm an engineer by study, so.
Yeah, no, I can imagine your weeks are very busy. And I've known you for a couple of years, and I've listened to a few of your TED Talks before today's podcast recording. I can see how passionate you are about technology and startups and SMEs. And before we get to that, I wonder if it might be a very ignorant question on my part, but what does a CTO actually do? What's the role of a CTO?
Well, it's an interesting actually question on one side and role on the other, because I think that the Chief Technology Officer role appeared probably 25 years ago. And I think there is sometimes confusion between the CIO and the CTO. Right. So because we tend to mix technology and information. I think that information is information. So if you take the CIO position, is really looking after information systems overall. Technology is wider, and it's probably in most organizations something which, in my view at least, links the technology as itself and the business. So the CIO is focusing really, and was focusing, I think that roles are evolving, but was focusing really on the IT environment. The CTO was trying to make a bridge between what technology can do for the business. And so it's not only IT systems, this could be anything. Of course, if this is a manufacturing line, for example, this is the robotics and everything that's there. If it's a bank, that could be beyond just the pure computers or the core banking system, that could be the ATMs, that could be the security devices and everything. So, and trying to bring something which is holistic and bridging the gap between what business does and how we can support the business with technological solution, which sometimes are not pure IT. So that's how I feel it is today.
If my understanding is correct, you're a tech guy,
Yeah.
but the CTO role is more of a leadership role.
Correct.
And you would be leading the technological vision of the business, the strategy, and devising a roadmap for implementation.
Yeah.
And the CTO would also be sitting on the board of directors or part of the management?
It will depend, but generally it's an exco position, yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you're the former CTO of a tech company, massive tech company, Microsoft, but also you act as consultant now and mentor to smaller businesses that might not necessarily be tech companies. I understand. You're on the board of a bank in Mauritius, and I wonder how those conversations at management level, what's the flow in those conversations when you come with, you come with your tech expertise to present strategy, vision, and a roadmap to perhaps non-tech people. It might be different at Microsoft because that's a tech company, I don't know, but on the board of a bank and SMEs and all that, how does that conversation flow?
I would say it's a loaded question. We could probably spend a lot of time on that. I think that whether it's a technology company or not is, I would say, almost irrelevant. Because if you look at a company like Microsoft, and I would say for the sake of the argument, most tech companies as well, lots of leadership roles and lots of management roles are not occupied by tech people.
Right.
Those are MBAs, those are business school guys who know technology, but who are not really deep into technology. So they have a good understanding, but what they're very good at is strategizing, managing, of course, larger teams, trying to build a strategy and execute that strategy. So when you talk tech to those guys, well, you need to understand how they think. And you need to explain stuff that sometimes they may not be agreeable with. In the role I was occupying, it was really, and I was I would say the voice of the company as well to the customers.
Right.
And the same thing when you're meeting customers, or when I'm consulting with small companies or large companies here, my interlocutor in front of me is probably a CEO, a CFO, a CMO, so all the executive positions or board members. And those guys understand the need to do technology and the place that technology plays into the strategy of that organization, but from a 30,000 foot view. And so we need to go a little bit lower to say, okay, if you want to go there, so we will have some constraints, or this will enable this, or this will enable that. And so you devise a roadmap. You've got a budget, you've got constraints, which are human capital, for example. And so you need to assemble all of those things. And what is missing generally at board level, for example, is the capacity of looking ahead and how technology is evolving, what it will be in 5 years down the line. And it's very difficult these days because things are moving at a faster pace. But it's really enabling, so okay, the bank wants to do that, or the company wants to do this, or even Microsoft wants to go there. Great. So how can we go there? What's the path? What's the roadmap? And what can we do right now? What we should not do right now, because we don't have the talent, we don't have the money, we don't have the expertise. So we need to really devise a good strategy and different milestones to help on that journey.
Do you think part of the low adoption of AI in businesses is due to a gap in the understanding of its benefits, or just in the understanding of what AI does, the full benefit of it by the leadership?
Yeah, it's the low. Well, there is a kind of a low adoption, like you said in the introduction. OpenAI just released a document recently, a study that shows that because they have the know-how of what ChatGPT is used for. And what was surprising is that basically I think at 74% of usage is personal usage. It's not really professional one. So that leaves basically 25% or so to professional usage. And I think that's the gap is, and you probably are using ChatGPT or any other tools, and when that tool arrived 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago now, in November 2022, everybody was mesmerized. Wow, that's pretty cool. I type a question, and then I got the answer, and the answer is pretty long, and it feels like, well, I'm talking to a human being, which actually is a machine, but that's another question. And so everybody was kind of flabbergasted, and it was kind of fun. And then the question arose, what shall I do with it in my professional career? And so, of course, what we've seen is, we're going to draft some emails, we're going to correct some documents, we're going to probably, read a PDF and summarize that. And then we kind of felt frustrated around this. It's okay, great, but sometimes the answer is not 100% fantastic. Sometimes there are some hallucinations that make me don't trust that system. So there is a kind of an ambiguous position, is that I find it fun, nice, but I cannot trust 100% somehow. And then say, can I use that into my professional environment? Then I got the risk people or security people say, oh no, never use ChatGPT or never use Claude, because you know what? If you're using the free version, then the data that you're giving those tools belongs to Anthropic or OpenAI and the likes. So no, you cannot use that. And so those two forces, I would love to do that, but I don't really know what to do with it. And on the other side, people saying, no, that's security issues. Says, okay, you know what, I'm not really going to look into that, and I'm going to go back to what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm hearing that noise that a lot of people are increasing the productivity. Oracle, just a few days back, fired 30,000 employees because they're going to reply a lot of roles by AI. So what's happening there? And I think that, and I was telling that actually very recently to customers, it's, you are stuck into this security governance, we need to control everything, so nobody's moving anymore until we figure out how to do that. And on the other side, well, a lot of people are moving very, very fast, or seem to move very, very fast, which actually is a little bit untrue. Nobody is really moving fast. Probably the IT sector, yes, for sure, they're 5 years ahead anyway. But most of the companies, and most of the companies I'm working with, are not really working that fast. They are still figuring out. And my message is very simple, is yes, there are risks. Yes, but we understand the risks now, okay? And the risks are very limited, particularly if you're working with large organizations, whether it's American or Chinese, and I'm not going into the rabbit hole of, are the Chinese stealing my data? Well, they are, and the Americans are as well. So, but as long as you pay for that, you're limiting the risks.
The reason why I think this is an interesting communication challenge is because, as you say, the tech companies are far ahead, and these are the companies that are, making redundancies because they're relying a lot more on AI and its replacement value, if I may say. On the other hand, you've got the non-tech or the smaller companies, SMEs. I mean, SMEs can be, you've got some big SMEs as well.
True.
And that's why I wonder whether it's not a leadership issue, and where the CTO or someone who doesn't have the title of a CTO, but who's driving the technological change in a business environment, what is the communication strategy they should adopt with the leadership? Because we see the reason why I think the implementation is lower in a non-tech company is because the leadership is not speaking a tech language, perhaps. And do you think that it's the lack of understanding or the lack of clarity of what AI does and how it's explained to the leadership that matters in those situations?
I think it's a schizophrenic position.
Right.
And as I said, open any Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, you will see tons of people talking about what AI is doing fantastic. Okay. And so, of course, it goes to the CEO or to a CFO, says, hey, by the way, I've seen that, we need that. And then if you don't have someone in front of him or her that says, wait, yes, but I'm going to show you that we can do that, but we need to look into those details, because what you don't want is hallucinations and stuff. So you need to explain the limits of the system. So if you have somebody who can articulate that, then we can execute. Otherwise, what happened, and it's still happening, so you've got expectations, then you put into production or even pre-production, and then you're disappointed because the answer is not to the top quality that you expect, automation or not as effective as you thought they were, as you read they were. And so it's a communication and it's an expectation. That's why I say it's kind of schizophrenic, because the tools are fantastic, but they cannot do everything. Okay, and so you need to understand the limits.
I think what it reminds me of in my line of work, and that's why I was referring to conversation between the CTO and the rest of the management and leadership. What it reminds me of is when I'm dealing with a client who's not familiar with legal terms and legal strategy and all that, and most of the time they're not. And there is a process of almost translating the legalese into layman terms and what we're doing in terms of strategy, because of course especially in high stakes disputes, actually across the board in disputes, you have to be aligned in terms of strategy with the client, and they need to understand the way you're going, because it's their case, you're representing them. And that's why I think I'm interested in that dynamic between the CTO, the person driving that technological change, and the leadership, but also not only that dynamic, but also the dynamic between the leadership and the rest of the workforce. Because I think some of the research shows that the AI implementation is much higher in the higher positions, in the white collar positions. But much lower at the end, much lower across the organizations. And I wonder whether you have any strategy, or how would you go about, let's say you've agreed with the leadership of a company, whether as a consultant or CTO, that we need to bring certain technological changes, whether it's AI or any other. How does that then translate into a process of working with the workforce, with the rest of the organization to implement that change?
So it boils, and you're using the word change, I think it boils down to change management. There were, which is a statistic which is still valid today, that shows that 80 to 85% of projects fail because change has not been managed correctly. And I think that there are two things I want to move forward to answer your question. The first thing is that the role as well of the CTO or the technology department is to have a holistic view of the systems. Okay, what we have lived with for a long time was silos of information, silos of software. ERP was doing that, the HRMS was doing this, the productivity suite was doing something else, and nobody was talking to each other. Up to a point that you have companies who have got a CRM which is not linked to their ERP, which is not linked to the production system, and it's horrible, and you've got 25, 35, 40 people who are just trying to make things move around. So we need to have this holistic view. That's the first thing. The second thing, and make sure that everything...
So on that holistic view, how would it be in the form of like a report, a survey, or
No, it's an architectural view. You know what's in the company.
so a brainstorming among the different stakeholders.
It's not even a brainstorming. It's what do we have currently, okay, and how is technologies working together.
Like an audit.
Yeah, we're doing an assessment basically of where you are, and in the IT world, we're talking about maturity level as well. So how those things are managed, how those things are talking to each other. So you need to have that map and that overall view, because if you want to put some artificial intelligence, some new software or anything, then the first question would be how things will work together. Yeah. What we don't want is to break things. On the other side, we need to work with what we have sometime, and there is what we call the technical debt. Yeah. So we need to live with what we have. We cannot throw things away because it costs us a lot of money. And then the second thing is, once you've understood what you want to achieve, then you need to work from the base and from the ground up, not from the top down. Top will decide strategy. You will explain where you want to go. You will make the decision or help make the decision from an investments perspective. And of course, you'll need to talk business. Now, from the ground up, you need to listen to people, because one of the things to me why AI fails is that we don't listen to people enough. We don't listen to their pain, okay, on a daily basis. What they are doing, 25, 30 times a day with stupid things, okay, that they can alleviate with tools. And so, and it's very funny, because when you're doing that, you understand that, well, a lot of people have very good ideas of what they would love to do, and very good ideas of what they tried as well, because a lot of people have tried. I tried ChatGPT, I use that, let me show you that. Wow, that's interesting. So maybe we could build on that. And so you create that adoption from the base. It's not about, we're going to put a new AI tool and you will see that will be fantastic. And that's what I've been doing. I shouldn't say that, but that's what the big vendors are doing. Buy this technology, you will see it will say mom and pop and it will make the coffee in the morning. It's fantastic. Everybody will love it. And 6 months later, nobody's using it.
I wonder, at that stage, when you're almost auditing or surveying the people who are doing the groundwork, let's say, how do you respond to reluctance from them to change? I give you an example. We have organizations with people who've been working there for 30, 35 years, and they are used to the way things are done. They love it, and they're not at a stage where they want to change anything, because that means more work for them, although it might be more work in the short term. But after 30, 35 years, you're taking a short-term view on what's next. So how do you? I don't know. Have you encountered those situations, and how do you respond? How do you drive them to that change strategy?
Again, it's difficult to answer in a few minutes, but what you see in almost every organization, you have those kind of people that have been in the role for 20, 30 years. They don't want to change anything. They want to stay as they are. Then you've got the guys who are doing things, but they don't like change. Okay, and no, I'm comfortable. I'm not paid to change. And then you've got the young guys generally, or the younger generation, the Gen Z, the Gen whatever,
who come with the change already.
they are the change. And again, it's not a matter of age or the length of the job or whatsoever. But you got this typology of different people. The guys who really are there, they don't want to change. That would be a tough conversation at one point, because the world is changing fast. If you don't accept change, you will have difficulties in staying in your job one way or another. So we'll need to find a transition to something else, but we cannot stay put. The others who are reluctant to change, I would say the guys who love change, fine, they will come with you and they will become your champions, actually. And you need champions within the organization from the ground up that will move that change. And then the vast majority of people, and the reluctant, the 30-year-old guys or 30-year-old job guys, yeah, they're on the side, unfortunately. You will always have a small population like that. But the vast majority of people generally says, I'm not sure I want to change. And so your role as the change manager or as the chief technology officer, CIO, whatever, is making sure that you spend time with those people, and so that they, at one moment, they will flip a switch and they will say, oh yeah, I haven't seen what you're doing in that angle. And so that's why you need to understand, you need to spend time with them, because I don't know anyone in any given role, at the exception of those old guys, but in the vast majority, I don't know anyone who will not say, oh yes, I spend too much time in this, or I hate that part of the job, or if I had this, I would be much more happier or much more productive or whatsoever. So there is always something. And that something is really the small hook that you're going to use and say, okay, that's great. So what if we could solve that? How your life would be? And then you start building around that. And then you will slowly flip the people. Of course, they will still have doubts. I want to see. Fine. So you want to see? You know what? Because you want to see, I would love you to be one of the beta tester. So I will show you the system, and you will use the system before it's live, so that if it does not answer your pain, then we're going to change it. Okay? And you become the co-owner, or at least the co-builder of that system. And it takes time. I don't want to sugarcoat that. It takes time. It's sometimes frustrating, okay? Because you feel that you're losing time. The fact is that if you don't lose time at the beginning, you will lose people in the end. And I've seen so many projects where top down, we're going to implement that new solution. It's incredible. Okay, it has been sold 100 millions or whatsoever. And then people look at it and says, never. And they will torpedo that thing from the ground. And then you're done. You spend 2 years and you're done. Nobody in low adoption. And AI is exactly like that. High expectation, no understanding of how we can adopt technology. Spend time at the beginning. Try to understand people. Lose time at the beginning. You will increase adoption big time in the end.
I think if I summarize what you're saying is, it's sort of come in terms of your communication approach, instead of coming in with, we've got a solution, here it is, and we're implementing it. It starts with having a conversation and identifying with the workforce what a problem might be and how technology might be a solution to that, and almost walking with them through that change, and leading them or empowering them to almost lead the change themselves, as you mentioned, like kind of championing the beta version. And do you think, as part of that process of engaging with the workforce to implement change, the presentation of a roadmap makes a difference, or is it something that that helps with that change? And I'm saying that because in my interaction with clients, for example, I've learned to realize that if the client doesn't have visibility on the full process, it's difficult for them to understand or quickly understand why we're adopting a certain strategy at a certain stage of the process. And once they understand, okay, we've got a strategy that's broader than the current stage, and this is where we're leading to. There are questions that we have to bear in mind and perhaps review along the way, but giving them a sense of this is broader than just a one-step change helps them to walk with us and understand. And I know that the word roadmap is used a lot in change management and technological innovation in change implementation. So what's your experience with that? And not just in, I think, not just in big tech companies, but also in the SMEs and businesses that you mentor.
And actually, I developed a course a few years back around road mapping, basically your way in. The thing is, and I believe in complete transparency. So it's not just about, hey, you work for a wonderful company, let's work together. No, we work together, meaning that you need to know where we're going. So it's a journey. We're going to spend some time. So we know that we want to go there in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the line. How we're going to go there, we can say the journey. We can look at the journey for the next 6 to 12 months. We cannot 100% forecast how we're going to go further. But what we want to make sure is that at each and every corner where we need to make a decision, you're part of that decision, or at least you're informed of that decision because you know that the journey goes there. So, and that is the roadmap, okay? So the roadmap is we are going to implement this with this is the strategy of the company, this is where we want to reach. And every company is doing that, or at least should be doing that. Unfortunately, a lot of smaller companies are living day by day, okay?
Right.
Or month by month. Yeah, they just want to make month end. That's another discussion that I have with entrepreneurs sometimes. Just, well, if you're working just making month end, do something else because you need to rethink the way you're doing business. But as long as you have that vision, where you're going to go, let's build that thing together, okay? I think what is fascinating is when you start doing that with, even the janitor or even really, low pay grade people says, this is the company you're working with. And we trust you by sharing that with you. And you build that trust. It's not, overnight, but you build that trust for a couple of weeks, months and the likes. And at one point you will have those guys says, either I love it or I hate it. Fine, if you hate it, well, we can help you transition to another job. But if you like it, we want as well to get your feedback because you're part of that. We may not agree 100% to what you say, that's fine. But at least we want to hear from you because you're part of that journey. And again, if it's like the same thing, you're in the same bus. You're not the driver. But if you feel that, we should go that way instead of that way because of your life, or if you were doing this, it will improve professional life of many people, maybe we could think about it. And the moment we do that, people are empowered. One thing that we're seeing too much, and not only in Mauritius, but in many countries, empowerment is just a word, okay? And what I mean by that is, we empower people, but in the end, the CEO is making decision. So empowerment is really delegating decision at every level.
I think communicating that vision and direction and being open to feedback and what people have to say about it, I think it creates a sense of participation in that change management or change implementation. Perhaps I'm going to put you on the spot with this question, but to the extent that you can answer, I know you're on the National Committee for AI Implementation, and what is the vision and what's the objective of what should we expect?
So the national AI strategy for Mauritius is going to be released. I met the minister last week and his team, and they confirmed that they were just basically dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So that the strategy should be released. Basically, that strategy. So from the work that has been done, that I was co-chairing, it's really around a couple of pillars, but one of the pillars, of course, is education and inclusion, education and inclusion. One is definitely infrastructure, because deploying AI across a government and across a country requires IT infrastructure, data centers, and the likes. There is, of course, a pillar on industry, and so the main idea around that was looking at from a country's perspective, what needs to be done at every stage, from I would say, implementing technology in government and in governmental organizations, how to leverage what industry is doing, how can we make sure that education from small age to tertiary education is covered, and how we can build a future where we have the workforce.
Right.
So this is spanning, so it will be basically a 2030 strategy, so in the next 4 or 5 years, and so creating a roadmap. Once again, it was really around a roadmap, and that was one of the key elements that we pushed. And the whole committee was formed with various people from, civil service, of course, but industry, NGOs, educators, academics. So we have everyone. And one of the things that we were completely adamant with was we want to bring a 1-year tactical wins. Right. So we want to have the quick wins because we want people to see AI in action quickly. So the quick wins will be there, and then we want to have a 5-year roadmap where this is what we're gonna do. So that's basically we're looking into the publishing of that very, very soon, probably in the next weeks or so, because it will be it has, of course, a budgeting piece into it. And so it will be announced during budget time, and that we're just in the middle of budget season for the announcement in June. So.
Right. Well, we look forward to what's coming from it. Marc, I've got one final question.
Sure.
In your experience, what is the biggest mistake that leaders make when they try to implement change, in particular technological change?
The biggest mistake, and there are two mistakes, and two as big as the other. The first is over-optimism and believing that things is going to change, by the magic wand kind of thing. And so that's believing what vendors are telling. It's always more difficult. That what we expect, it always takes longer than we expect, and it costs more than we expect. So we need to take that into consideration.
That's interesting. I think, if I understand correctly, it's also, I think businesses are interested in AI implementation, but perhaps it's about reshuffling priorities and reshuffling priorities so that there's more effort in that direction to move faster. Marc, thank you very much. It was a pleasure chatting with you, and your expertise and experience are very, very valuable, and we look forward to what's coming from the National Committee's strategy as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.